Horse feeds and supplements developed by Kentucky Equine Research are research tested and race proven. For over 30 years, top trainers and veterinarians have relied on science, technology, and products from Kentucky Equine Research to fuel top performance from the breeding shed to the sales ring and the track. Look for KER products and learn more at KER.com. Kentucky Equine Research, world leaders in equine nutrition.
Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm your host Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. Daily Racing Form handicappers Mike Beard, David Aragona, and I will take a look at 3 Grade 1 stakes races on the turf. The 4-star Dave at Saratoga, the Mr. D, formerly known as the Arlington Million, and the Beverly D for fillies and mares at Arlington Park. Nicole Russo's Pedigree Pick segment is sponsored by Kentucky Equine Research. Nicole this week's going to focus on a Saturday race at Saratoga. Plus, best bets for Saturday. We're all standing in line. Let's break Out of the Gate. Begin Out of the Gate with a look at the DRF race of the day for Saturday, the Grade 1 4-star Dave Handicap at Saratoga. Let's take a look at this field. We're going a mile on the inner turf. Download free Formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. And for expanded stakes previews of all the graded stakes races this weekend, head on over to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel and subscribe, or video.drf.com. 3 mares in this race, including a mare that has already won the 4-star Dave in Got Stormy, but the morning line favorite, and deservedly so, is the number 1 Raging Bull, who's come back this year at the age of 6 for Chad Brown with renewed tactical speed. Very impressive winner of the Maker's Mark in his seasonal debut, and then he ran this race. The Grade 3 Poker last time out, and he got right up close to the pace, sitting in the pocket. Pace was very fast, and Raging Bull had to wait just a little bit. He's going to dive down towards the inside, while the winner, Alexandra, benefited from the fast pace and got all the way out into the clear to make a late run. Raging Bull fought very hard, finished an excellent second, and he's going to be real tough in the 4-star Dave, albeit at a slightly depressed price. David and Mike have different opinions on the 4-star Dave. Let's see who they like.
Well, I think Raging Bull is definitely the horse to beat in this race. I have no problems, obviously, with his recent form. I think he's probably come back this year better than he's ever been, and probably just got really unlucky not to win as a heavy favorite last time. That being said, I've never really trusted him. I don't really want to take him in here at a really short price. And the more I looked at the race, the more I felt like Casa Creed just might be the right other horse to take a shot with in here. I realize there's a way to look at Casa Creed and say, well, they cut him back to sprint. He got better with the shorter distances, and that has everything to do with his improved form this year. I'm not so sure that I agree with that. I think this horse has just gotten good this year. I think he's fine at a mile, and I think he can get the right trip in this race. And then when you start taking the whole field apart and you realize that he's the 3rd choice on the morning line, that's good enough for me. I'm going to try Casa Creed in this race and give him one more chance to get the mile and maybe break through with a big race out of the sprint distance ranks. I think he's eligible certainly to do that. To me, it was all him and Raging Bull in this race for me. I think David has a different opinion, so let's go over there and see who he likes.
This 4-star Dave has drawn a really intriguing field, and I acknowledge that Raging Bull is probably the horse to beat in this race. If he runs back to his Maker's Mark victory 2 back at Keeneland, he'll probably beat this field, but personally, I've never been the biggest fan of this horse. Don't really want to take him at a short price. He did lose as the odds-on favorite in his prep for this last time at Belmont, and for my money, he's one that does his best running when he gets a lot of pace ahead of him, and I'm not sure that's going to happen in this race, so I'm slightly against him. I do prefer the other horse who's likely to take money, Set Piece. He's coming out for the Brad Cox stable, and they've been winning at a high percentage at Saratoga. Set Piece has certainly been impressive in recent starts at Churchill Downs, but I'm going in a different direction for my top pick, and that's to the number 8 Blowout, who's actually the stablemate of Raging Bull and could be the pace setter for that horse, though I think Blowout has a big chance to win this race in her own right. She's one of 3 females who'll be taking on the males in this 4-star David. Based on her time form US speed figures, she stacks up really well against this field field of male runners. And let's take a look at her race 2 back when she concluded her 2020 season at Del Mar. This is just a great example in this matriarch, even though she lost by a nose, of how game she is and how hard she tries to win her races. She was up against a fast pace in this race. Another horse took the lead away from her on the backstretch, but she refuses to yield in the lane, is battling really hard to hold off her stablemate Viadera, and falls just short at the end. I liked her return to the races this year for her 5-year-old season, winning her 2021 debut in the Distaff Turf Mile. Flavien Prat really let her rip on the front end that day, and I think that Joel Rosario is going to do a similar thing here in the 4-star Dave, and if she gets that kind of trip over a firm course on the front end, I think she's got a chance to wire this field at a price.
I'm with Mike in the 4-star Dave. I'm going to go with Casa Creed as well, and it's fair to wonder whether his recent career resurgence is simply due to the fact that Bill Mott cut him back in distance, and that he's not a miler, that he's more of a one-run, late-running sprinter. He has run well at a mile. The only other time he ran a triple-digit Beyer speed figure, aside from the race he just won, the Jaipur at Belmont, was in the 4-star Dave last year. Ran a 100 Beyer speed figure and might have been up against it from a pace standpoint. Casa Creed is 4-1 on David's morning line. I think he is a fair price as the third betting choice or so, and while I respect Raging Bull, I'd rather take a little bit of a better price with the red-hot, in-form Casa Creed. Nicole Russo's Pedigree Pick segment is up next. It is presented by Kentucky Equine Research. Nicole focuses on a race at Saratoga on Saturday.
Hey everyone, Nicole Russo coming to you for some pedigree talk on Out of the Gate, brought to you by our friends at Kentucky Equine Research. A lot of fun pedigrees on the Saturday card at Saratoga, and one race I zeroed in on was the 4th. It's for maiden fillies and mares. We're going 1 mile and 3/16, that's a solid distance on the turf. There are a few horses in this race who I think will be helped by experience, by the turf, by the distance, or some combination of those. And one of those is American Heiress, part of an 8-1 entry that offers some nice value on the morning line for Todd Pletcher. American Heiress, was off the board in her debut at Gulfstream, but I really think she'll improve off that. She's out of a mare named Kirtana, who was okay at 3, got much better as an older mare. I really think she was a horse that developed with experience. You see the same from some of her half-sisters, and I think you'll see the same from her offspring. Kirtana, you just could not go far enough for her. She was a multiple graded stakes winner at 1.5 miles, including the Bewitch at Keeneland. She was a graded stakes winner at 1.5 miles against the boys and the Louisville Handicap. Just really a distance-loving turf mare. You've crossed Kirtana here with American Pharaoh, of course the Triple Crown winner, also won at 1.5 miles, and he's been such a good turf sire. I think that American Heiress will love every bit of this 1 mile and 3/16, and I'm really looking for an improved effort from her at maybe a value on Saturday at Saratoga.
Here's the field for the feature race at Arlington on a Grade 1 laden card. It's the Mr. D. Race number 9 is at 1.25 miles on the turf. $600,000 is the purse. The race used to be known as the Arlington Million. As we take a look at the entry card, Domestic Spending is the deserving favorite in this race. He's right now the leading turf male in the country. He's won 6 of 7. He was electric in winning the Manhattan last time out, and he's simply the horse to beat in the Mr. D. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about a couple of the horses that prepped in the local prep. The Grade 3 Arlington last time out. Busy Channel won that race. Beat 3 of these horses, and Busy Channel has 4 lifetime wins at Arlington. He is a horse for course. He proved last time out that he can stay the trip, and his great asset is his tactical speed. He can sit up close to the pace, while maybe the 2 favorites in here are going to be coming from further out of it. Busy Channel might get the jump on them, turning into the stretch. And we also have to talk about Zulu Alpha, who's won the Pegasus World Cup turf, has banked over $2 million in his career, and should benefit from his last race, the Arlington, as he now goes second off the layoff. David and Mike, though, we're going to talk about Domestic Spending, and why not? He's been awesome so far.
I'm not going to overcomplicate this Mr. D Stakes. I think it's all about domestic spending. He has turned into the best American turf horse in this country, and I don't think it's even really that close at this point. He was so impressive winning the Turf Classic 2 back at Churchill Downs, and even though he just dead heated for the victory that day, I thought he was much the best. And last time out, he asserted his dominance in the Manhattan, got a great pace set up there, but he really finished impressively through the stretch. And I've been watching some of his morning training workout videos online, and he's been working in company in the mornings at Saratoga with Raging Bull, and Raging Bull's a good turf horse, and domestic spending has just been owning him in the morning, so seems like he's sitting on a pretty big effort here, and if he shows up with a similar performance to his Manhattan or even moves forward, I just don't see how he's going to lose this Mr. D Stakes at what is likely to be a short price.
I'm with David on this one. I just felt like domestic spending way too hard to go against in this race. He is the best turf horse in the country right now. His stretch kick is electrifying, and I just didn't really feel like there was any way that this field could beat him if he shows up and just runs his typical race. This is obviously a day that Chad Brown really points for. He's going to have domestic spending ready to go in this race. The number 9 Armory, the European import for the powerful Coolmore operation, he feels like the main danger. I'll be surprised if he can beat domestic spending in here.
Domestic spending, obviously, the horse to beat. Take a small stab against him with the European Invader. That's the number 9 Armory, who's a true world traveler. Multiple group stakes winner in Ireland. Third in the Irish Champion Stakes last year as a 3-year-old. Second in the Cox Plate in Australia. And he's done some good things this year. Now, his most recent start on paper doesn't look that great. Watching the replay, however, maybe I can make a slight excuse. It was a short field. He ended up in between horses in the stretch. Maybe he wouldn't have won with a clear run. I'm curious to see what would have happened if he got to the outside and was allowed to have a clear run. Armory has done some good work in his career. He may not be as good as domestic spending. He's going to be a slightly better price. I respect anything Moore and O'Brien throw out onto the track. He's getting Lasix on as well, and he's pretty good, Armory. Curious to see how he does against domestic spending in the Mr. D. Here's the field for race number 7 at Arlington. It's the Grade 1 Beverly D for fillies and mares, going 1 mile and 3/16 on the turf. Head on over to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel after Out of the Gate. Check out those expanded stakes previews for all the graded races all weekend long. We take a horse-by-horse look at everybody in these graded stakes races. Lots of opinion, pace breakdowns, and more at the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel or at video.drf.com. Now, the two big names in this race are Mean Mary, who in my opinion is the best older filly and mare in the country right now, and Santa Barbara, who is a very good 3-year-old and showed that in her most recent start, her North American debut in the Belmont Oaks. The horse is going to have to improve a little bit, but one that has the horse for course advantage, perhaps, is named Laughter. Very lightly raced like Santa Barbara. She has tactical speed where she shouldn't be too far off of the pace, and she looked good last time out. Winning the local prep for this race, the Grade 3 Modesty. I think her tactical speed is going to play well. I think her upside is going to play well. The price is going to be great. She just has to improve to beat the top 2. David and Mike, they split their opinions in this race with the favorites. Curious to see which one goes where.
This is a very good race, this Beverly D, even though if it mostly boils down to just 2 horses in here. You either like the number 2 Mean Mary, who feels like at this point perhaps the top older filly or mare turf horse in the country, or you like the 3-year-old from Coolmore, Santa Barbara, who was really good and better than it even looks on paper when she came over here to win at Belmont back earlier last month. I mean, it feels like a 2-horse race between those two, but it's a really intriguing matchup. I'm going to stick with Mean Mary, the older horse, who is going to go forward in this race, either right up on the lead or maybe sitting right off of an overmatched rival up there. I think that might be her advantage in here. Santa Barbara has a powerful stretch kick. We'll see if she can run down Mean Mary, but she's going to have to really run down Mean Mary. She's going to have to do it this time. I know that she came with a really strong kick last time to run down those 3-year-olds. She's going to have to run down a better horse this time, and if she can do it, she's going to earn this Beverly D.
I don't mean any disrespect to the local Arlington horses, but this Beverly D really does boil down to the 3 shippers, Mean Mary, Santa Barbara, and Lamista. I suppose some people might try to wake up Lamista in this race off her poor effort in the Diana, but personally I think this is mostly a match race between Mean Mary, the speed, and Santa Barbara, the 3-year-old facing older horses. And personally, while I respect Mean Mary, I really prefer Santa Barbara in this race. I was really taken with her victory in the Belmont Oaks last time. time, we'll take a look at the stretch run of that race. She was in a pretty precarious spot coming to the quarter pole. Ryan Moore was in behind a wall of horses, locked and loaded, really had nowhere to go, and finally was patient, able to find a seam in the final eighth of a mile. And once she gets that clear running room, she just bursts through and proves far superior to these other 3-year-old fillies. And that Belmont Oaks, it did come up a faster race than the Belmont Derby for the Colts later on that card. And I think we saw in the Saratoga Oaks just last week that was a pretty legitimate race, because the runner-up, Conlina, came out of that race to win. Higher Truth, who was third, came back to be second in the Saratoga Oaks. So that form really does flatter Santa Barbara. And we already knew Santa Barbara was a good horse coming into that last race, because she had been a very strong second to Thundering Knights, a good horse who just lost to Mean Mary over in Ireland. So I'm on Santa Barbara. I think she's the one with upside, and I think she can beat Mean Mary in the Beverly D on Saturday.
Mean Mary for me in the Beverly D for pretty much all the reasons that Mike mentioned. Her speed gives her a big advantage in these kind of races. While there are some other horses that might be intent on the lead, she's the classiest of the speed horses. And she ran so well in her last race, the New York, where that was a wet turf course. That was a pretty fast pace she set. That was a pretty good European horse that she held off. That horse came back to win Thundering Knights, the Group 1 Pretty Polly overseas in Ireland. So Mean Mary has just a lot going for her. I do respect Santa Barbara's upside. I think Mean Mary's experience gives her a slight edge in the Beverly D. Best bets up next.
My best bet this weekend comes in Saturday's third race at Saratoga. This is a non-winners of one other than allowance race, going a mile and 16th on the inner turf course, and pretty interesting wide open race. We've got a Mike Maker entry that could take some money in this race. That entry is led by the 1X Atone, who's making his first start for the Maker barn. Horses like this have been very dangerous at the Saratoga meet so far. You've also got a couple of Chad Brown runners who could attract some support. Personally, I'm not a big fan of either of them, and I wanted to go in a different direction with the New York bred that's stepping up to face Open Company for the first time, and that's the number 5 Clickatat. Let's take a look at his last victory when he beat New York bred competition in an optional claiming race. Nominative to other than was the New York bred allowance condition, and I thought he looked pretty good winning this race by 2 lengths. He beat Cold Hard Cash, who's also in here. He is a nice horse who also fits at this level, and Clickatat has just been steadily improving for trainer Jimmy Jerkins. He's got a really nice stalking running style, and I think that's going to be an asset in this race, because you've got some speed from the horse on the rail, Alley-Oop Johnny, but not a whole lot of speed to the outside of him. And I think Eric Cancel, who's been riding this horse well, is going to put him a little bit forward in the early going and get that stalking trip outside of Alley-Oop Johnny. And based on the Time Form US speed figures that he's run recently, he is right there with the horses that have already been competing against Open Company. So it's the number 5 Clickatat for me in race 3 at Saratoga on Saturday.
I like David's best bet quite a bit there. I have the same horse as my best bet in the New York analysis in the daily racing form. In an effort to avoid doubling up with David, I'm going to go to a different track entirely for my best bet here on Out of the Gate. I'm going to go over to that big card Saturday at Arlington Park. One of those stakes races, race number 8, is the Bruce D, formerly known as the Secretariat for 3-year-olds, going 1 mile on the turf course. I like a horse in this race. Number 4, Ginsburn. This is a horse very lightly raced for Rusty Arnold, stepping right up off of a maiden win recently at Ellis Park. I thought this horse ran really well breaking his maiden. He's got a little bit of pedigree. His career debut way back in February, I felt like they were maybe giving him a race in a spot where his stablemate Cellist actually wound up winning. This horse felt like maybe he was out there for a little bit of experience. He came back last time at Ellis Park going a mile. I thought this horse ran really well in here. But look at the stretch run of the race right now. They took him over to the inside. He steadied a little bit on the backstretch. He was in a little bit of traffic. But after that, he got himself clear. He always traveled very well. He had a lot of ground there. You could see it to make up from the top of the stretch to the wire. But once he got clear, this horse really kicked. I like the way that he ran, that he came running to catch that horse on the lead late and get up to break his maiden. I thought this horse showed a lot of potential there. I think he lands in a Bruce D here that at the end of the day, just didn't come up that strong. I feel like this horse could take a step forward off of that maiden win, and if he does, I think he's going to be tough. He's 5-1 on the morning line. He's my best bet.
My best bet's at Pimlico, race number 7, number 4, Call Me Plucky. Take a look at this formulator fact for trainer Brittany Russell. Blinkers on. 6 for the last 8. Giant return on investment. Yes, please. For Call Me Plucky, whose most recent start, a little bit better than it looks on paper. First race off of a lengthy layoff. This horse was way back early in a race where there was just no pace whatsoever, and he just couldn't make up the late ground. I expect him to be sharper second off the layoff. I expect him to be sharper with the blinkers on, and I think he's just going to get a little bit more pace to run at this time around. 5-1 on the morning line for Call Me Plucky, my best bet on Saturday at Pimlico. We thank you so much for watching Out of the Gate, and we urge you to follow all of DRFTV's latest offerings. Subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel or watch us on video.drf.com. That's it for this week. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.